Hey, Rewired fam, welcome to the Reset Challenge. Excited for you guys to get going. Excited for this new text messaging service. I am gross and sweaty, so at least you can't smell me because we're on video, so that's good. I wanted to use this first video. I'm going to talk about the sheet from week one. Now, for some of you, you pick this up first thing Tuesday morning, you got it filled out, you've basically already accomplished week one, you're almost wrapped up with it. There will be a new sheet for you on Monday morning at the gym when we also start our new cycle, which I'm super pumped about. You might also be thinking like, hey, I just picked up a sheet or I got one this week, but I'm kind of getting my ducks in a row. Week one, as far as this sheet goes, could very easily be the sheet you use this upcoming week, starting on Monday the 11th. That's fine. You could have started it on the 5th and you're ready for the next one come the 11th, or you could say, you know what, I kind of need to use this sheet starting the 11th, but I want to break down the sheet, okay? So I've got it right here. I'm going to kind of prop it up so I can see it, but I'm going to go through nutrition, I'm going to go through training, and then I'm going to go through recovery, okay? And really basic, we just want to kind of help you work your way through it. Get used to what the format of these sheets look like. You'll get a new one each week when you're ready. They'll always be available on Monday mornings. If you're not able to make it in, you're traveling, whatever, you can let me know directly, and I can either text it to you or email it to you so that you don't get behind, okay? So for this first sheet, when you're ready for your week one, let's look at nutrition. Super simple place to start. Let's make sure your water intake is good. You'll notice that there is a blank spot that's for you to fill out your own guideline. And the reason for that is if you're JV at best at getting water consumption in, which many of you admitted to me this week that you are, if you were like, okay, I maybe got one of these a day and it was really inconsistent, or the only way that you get water is by drinking coffee, that's why it's blank, is because if I just put 75 ounces of your body weight, dude, you're not ready to jump there yet. You need to get there eventually. But if you're looking at this and you're like, I really struggle with that, as simple as it is, I need to start small and get a little traction going. I would say make it a minimum of like 32 ounces. Make that a minimum. Below that, I'm like, that's dangerous to be lower than that, especially if you're working out. Let's start with that. Now, with that water goal, if you're like, I'm okay, but I'm super inconsistent, maybe this helps you be super consistent of, you're going to use 90 ounces a day or 100 ounces a day, and you're going to have that as minimum. Some days, maybe you go quite a bit above that, and some days you barely snuck it in. But this is to help you build really good habits, and you can't have awesome fitness if you're dehydrated all the time, okay? Is there a point where you can drink too much water? I mean, you're going to pee it out. Outside of the fact of you waterboarding yourself, you don't need to have an overly large concern about water. The majority of people are dehydrated and don't know it. So a good place to shoot towards is everybody's going to be slightly different. If you've got a super active job and you're moving all day long, or you're in a lot of heat, or you've got a unique salt imbalance, you're probably going to need more. If you train harder, you're probably going to need more. If you drink some caffeine, you should probably drink more. Like, all of those things are to consider, but a good baseline, 75% of your body weight in fluid ounces of water a day is a great, that's pretty optimal. That'll work for a long time. That's a great baseline if I had to give one for everybody. But again, I drink more than that. And I know some people that drink less than that and probably do fine. So use it as a guideline. It is not written in stone, okay? The second piece that's on there is the protein consumption. Now, again, it's got blanks, and that's intentional. If you're someone who you've never really, tracked or measured anything you've eaten, you've never used an app like MyFitnessPal or counted your macros or done a balance between protein, carbs, and fats. If this is really new, here's where I want you to start. And maybe you stay here for like a whole month, maybe even 2 months, but a really good goal for you would be, okay, let's get protein at every meal. Just start there. And if you're like, dude, I'm like way off on that, then okay, start with dinner. Let's get protein at dinner. And then let's get protein at lunch and dinner. And then let's get protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like, build. If you're fairly decent at getting protein in and you want to start working on a little bit more of a good habit to build off of, then let's start looking at how many grams per day. Okay. And maybe you need to kind of start a little bit small and work your way up. It's kind of like water in that protein, as far as grams per day, can fluctuate. If you follow a certain type of nutrition plan, this might fluctuate. A good general answer for most people that train pretty regularly and are moderately fit and trying to get fitter, your goal body weight in grams of protein per day is a very common baseline. Okay, now that's not like that is the gold standard and everybody has to be to that. But if we had to pick one, it's a pretty good one to pick. Some people do your lean mass in grams of protein per day. So if you are a 200-pound individual and you're 10% body fat, you have 20 pounds of fat technically and 180 pounds of lean mass. So 180 grams of protein per day. And if you're thinking about that and you're like, dude, I get like 50 right now, then jumping to 180 might be way too difficult for you right now. But kind of like water, you need to start working towards that, okay? So maybe that's starting with, okay, get an idea of what you're at now. Let's just get them at every meal. And once you get them at every meal, start tracking it. You can use a super simple free app called MyFitnessPal. Just start tracking how much protein you're getting. Maybe don't even look at carbs and fat right now, but start looking at protein. It's important. If you get good at being consistent with protein, it is so foundational and so unbelievably helpful. It might not be, bulletproof if you're only looking at protein, but it's really, really helpful. So start with that. Get it at every meal. Start actually tracking it, and then start actually making your way towards the goal of what you want your ideal amount of protein to be. For many people, it will be an absolute eye-opener when they realize, wow, I don't eat enough protein. You're going to feel a whole lot better. So there you go. That is the nutrition column. As we look at the training column, this is really straightforward. I will work out blank times this week. And the coach's tip that was in there was go ahead and book MindBody, commit to it. I get it. Your schedule might change at some point, but you know what? If you're committed to it and maybe on Sunday you go in and click on all the MindBodies you want to go to, you're already taking one step towards being more accountable. Or maybe you're looking at, okay, I can make it in 3 times this week, but I really wanted to get 4 actual training sessions in. So I need to go into my calendar and schedule that 4th workout that I'm gonna have to do at home or at work or whatever. Because if I don't plan it now, I probably won't actually make it happen. If that's you, go ahead and get it in your calendar. This is just keeping you accountable to the amount of workouts you should be doing. Is there a specific number everybody needs to do? No, it needs to be the one that's sustainable for you to repeat and will actually get you towards your goals. I am not an advocate for people doing 3 workouts a day and just, crashing in 30 days because they can't hang with it. That usually just leads to going backwards. So find for this, maybe for this month, taking it a week at a time and saying I can legitimately make 4. Do not give yourself the option of I'm going to do between 3 and 6. You're weak. You need to get a little bit more habitual than that. Just say, I'm going to make 4. Maybe end up making 5. Good for you. But you made 4. And then next week, 4. And the week after, 4. And if you get to a point where you're 4 feels great, I don't really need 5. If you did 20 workouts a month for an entire year, you will do so much better than the person that's I'm going to do 40 workouts in my first month, and then I'm going to burn out, and I'm going to get exhausted, and I'm going to be super stressed, and then I'll go down to 10 the next month, and then I'll go to 0 the month after that, and then I'll try and start the whole cycle again. Be more consistent. Be more consistent, okay? My plan for low intensity, steady state cardio sessions this week are X. Okay, so LISS, that's all it means. Low intensity, steady state cardio. Maybe you're in a spot where you're I don't really need to do much more than that. I'm kind of happy with where my training and work schedule and activity level's at. But maybe you're someone that's when you look at your watch at the end of the day, you're I really didn't stand up that much. I really didn't move that much. I spent a lot of time sitting. I had a pretty short workout and I sat at work for 9 hours today. You probably need to get up and move a little bit more. So maybe this challenge helps you realize going for 10-minute walks every day, if you got a pretty sedentary lifestyle, will do wonders for you for multitudes of reasons. And it's not just wasting time. It doesn't mean you need to go set up some crazy 60-minute workout, during your lunch session at work, but maybe you just need to start doing walks. Maybe you need to start doing the stairs. Maybe Maybe you do a little hike on the weekends. Maybe you do some light skiing or snowshoeing. Low intensity steady state just means that you could probably keep a conversation during it. Your heart rate is elevated, but it will do wonders for kind of a combination of training and recovery. It gets you moving more, so you're burning more energy, which if your goal is overall wellness and or, dropping some fat or increasing some muscle size, low intensity steady state can be really, really helpful. It won't work entirely on its own for most people, but it's a great thing to add in to an already pretty well-rounded wellness program. So there you go. For recovery, I'll do blank amount of recovery sessions this week. You might not need many. Maybe you're someone who you train hard, but you don't get overly sore. For a great example, I worked out at 9. I did a little bit of recovery work and some accessory work that I'm doing to kind of rehab some injuries from the accident. And then I went and spent 45 minutes in the sauna upstairs. I do 2 sauna sessions a week. For this challenge, I'm committing to 1 cold plunge per week where I get into my horse trough and I get some really cold water and ice. And for 8 minutes, it's like 42 degrees and it is not necessarily the most enjoyable thing ever, but it works wonders for my inflammation, especially from the car accident. That's a recovery session for me, is a cold plunge. Some other examples of things you could do for recovery sessions. It could be doing some yoga or some Ramwad. It could be doing some meditation. It could be doing some journaling. It's something where you're specifically working to let go of the stress from the week, the workout, all of that goodness. It could be as simple as spending, one day after class and doing a little bit of stretching, or at night doing a little bit of hip mobility routine. It could be spending, some time on specifically, you're like, hey, coach has always told me I got super tight ankles. Maybe, 4 nights a week before I hop into bed, I'm going to do a little ankle mobility routine. It could be doing, it could be doing a lot of different custom things. So if you need suggestions, you're welcome to ask, but those recovery sessions could be really, really helpful, especially as we're getting back in and we're all kind of sore. Not a bad idea. And then my plan for brain dumps this week are, you can go to any major platform with podcast availability. So like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of those major carriers, and go to The Rewired Life. That's the name of our podcast. It's the 2nd episode. It's from March 13th, 2020, and it's called Go Take a Big Old Brain Dump. Recorded it there. It's been one of our most listened to episodes. It's very short, super simple, and it's on brain dumping. Not going to go into details, but it's a little mental activity that you can do to help de-stress and deload from the day. It's great for mental clarity and recovery. It'll make you much sharper. And in a super stressed out season, it has been absolutely wonderful to have as a tool in my back pocket. So hopefully you find it very helpful. That's the whole front side of the sheet. Okay. Now I'm going to flip it over and look at the back side of the sheet. And this is one some of the parts you probably could have filled out already. Some of the parts you're going to kind of do at the end of the week. Some you can kind of do as you go, but it's just something to have. If that's your fridge, for me, it's the visor, like the sun visor in my truck. That's where I keep it. And I have a pen in my truck and just go through it there. Whatever works for you. Just let it be a place where you can, have access to it easily and you see it a lot. So my goal for water consumption, for me was 200 ounces. And I'm making it every day. So at the end of this week, I'll be able to put a 3. I made it. I didn't have any misses. If it wasn't for this challenge, there definitely would have been some days I would have came up short, but I'm keeping really hydrated. I'm also peeing constantly, but that's fine because it feels great. So looking at your scores, 1, you didn't make it. 2, you made it. It was adequate. 3, you freaking crushed it. Good job. You should be proud of yourself. I don't like doing 1 through 10s because everybody always puts 7, 1, 2, and 3, baby. You either didn't make it, you made it, or you crushed it, okay? Goal for alcohol for this week. Are you going dry for January? What's your plan with that? This kind of gives you the opportunity to be self-accountable. I'm going dry for January, so if anybody else is looking, for a little motivation, there you go. I need to cut back on the following this week. That's custom to you. Is that wasted time on Netflix? Is that, is that sugar? Is that alcohol? Is that sweets? Is that, I don't think this is, so don't hear this as like, we're going to do a super restrictive, unsustainable system. No. But like, are there some things that like, yeah, I should probably cut back on that. Maybe that's treats, maybe that's alcohol. maybe that's wasted time. You'll know. And if that's something you want to cut it out. Good job. My 3 main points of performance for nutrition for this week this is where you got to get custom. Maybe it's setting that water goal. Maybe it was, I'm going to count protein at dinner. Maybe that was, I'm going to get veggies in twice a day. Maybe that's, I'm not going to cook with seed oils anymore. I'm going to use, healthier versions of oil and or butter. At least 3 that you're looking at when it comes to nutrition, points of performance. So come up with them. If you need help, reach out, ask a coach, find an accountability partner you could ask questions to. Would love to help. So if you feel alone and you feel stuck, just ask. 3 main points of performance for training this week I'll give you a great one for me. I'm going to take it a week at a time, but my goal is really between now and like my birthday. I want to do something every day. That doesn't necessarily mean I'm coming to the gym and like doing a 60-minute workout, but I'm going to do classes 5 days a week. Okay. So this week was a 4, but what that means is like, so I don't normally come to the gym on Saturday or Sunday, at least for workouts. So that might mean, a 30-minute walk with my dog on Saturday, and I might put my weight vest on. I'm going to count that as a workout. It might not be the most intense thing ever, but it's working. And then on Sunday, super easy example, my go-to on Sundays is I'm going to do 50 push-ups. Okay. Those might not be considered workouts by everybody, but like for me, I'm going to do something I'm going to be accountable to every day. And maybe those get a little bit longer and maybe they get a little bit harder, but that might be, I'm going to do 100 lunges. That might be, I'm going to spend 20 minutes doing yoga. That might be, I'm going to practice some handstands at home and maybe my kids want to come with me and it'll be super fun. That might be, I'm going to do 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 of push-ups. Come up with it. And if you need help, ask a coach, ask an accountability partner, but come up with something where you're, sustainable for your workouts and points of performance. That's one of mine is I'm going to do something every day. I am doing everything I can to make the 9 a.m. 5 days a week. I had a Zoom call that was with the state this week that was scheduled a long time ago that I couldn't change. So I had to come in when we were closed and do something on my own. Not as fun because I'd rather be in class, but this sheet kept me accountable to that, which is great. And then I'm trying to think. My third one is I've got to spend 2 sessions a week working on some of my rehab drills from my car accident. So they're on paper, they're scheduled, they're in my calendar, and now I've got to stick to them because they're on paper. So far, so good. And then looking at this bottom piece where you have these boxes, okay? You'll have something like that on each sheet each week. And for these, consider it bingo. There's something super rewarding, as simple as it is, about putting a big old fat X through one of those at the end of each week. Like your daily water goal, was that a 1, a 2, or a 3? If you were like a 2 or a 3, then put an X through it. If you're like, nope, didn't make it, I had a couple off days, you don't get to put an X there. And there's something magical about putting that pen to that paper and seeing yourself be accountable to, hey, that's a reward. I like that. That was good. Or you got to work on that harder next week. You got to be more consistent. Just having those simple 10 boxes, as simple as it is, it's going to be very, very helpful. So that's a basic rundown of what this first sheet would look like. Again, you could have been doing it and considered what we've been on this kind of 5th through the 10th. That could have been week 1, or you could say, hey, now I'm good to go. I get it. I'm going to make this sheet really the 11th to the 18th. That's fine. There isn't a firm timeline that this needs to be. We'll have a month of these. The goal is that it allows you to build really repeatable, sustainable habits that lead you towards your goals. Okay. This is a really great way to, again, just reset, get ourselves dialed, and get off to the best foot possible for this year. 2020 was a shit show, for lack of a better term. I love that the gym is reopened. I love that it's a new year. I love that we'll be able to do this together. I hope you find it beneficial. Let me know if you got questions. Stay tuned and enjoy that podcast episode.